Hello, my friends. Welcome to Monday. It is the Copy Run Live, episode 311, brought to you live today in the bowels of the office. The bowels of the office? We're here anyway in the office, and I've obviously had a lot of coffee already today. So welcome to the Copy Run. Really excited to have you. What I wanted to talk with you about today is a little bit about the law of increase. So, and what my experience with this has been. I think it's really kind of interesting. And I've got a bit of a confession to tell you. It's kind of fun. So I think like one of the things that we think about, hey Amanda, good morning, welcome to Monday. I missed you today. One of the things that we'll often think about when we go out and spend money is, and I don't know how you feel about this, but it can kind of be like, right? You know, those things that we really want and we hold back because we get caught up in this whole thinking around scarcity. We get caught up in this thinking around, I could go and spend this money on something else, or I could go and spend the money on this, or I could go and spend it on that. And I found that for me anyway, when I think about investing money in me or in my business, I always expect that I'm going to get at least a 10 times return on investment. That's kind of my immediate thing. And so I think that, you know, if we're going into things thinking about things like that, it makes it a lot easier. However, what I think is really, really fascinating is about how this works, even when it's not just related to business. So I really firmly believe that there's these different financial levels that we hit in business, right? And usually what I've seen play out for me and what I've actually seen play out for other people in my world. So my clients, I've seen this play out for my friends, my colleagues, similar people in similar industries and things like that. It seems to be the same and really prevalent. So what I have discovered, or what I've found, is that making $0 to $100,000 can feel really freaking hard, right? And we generally, between 0 and 100K, we're often like really holding on to our financial abundance that might be coming in, or the finances that we have and things like that, right? It's like, oh, you know, I'm not making heaps of money yet. You know, I've got to kind of conserve it. I've got to use it wisely. And we really tend to be quite analytical about where money goes in that $0 to $100,000 bracket, like in the making and the revenue. And then from 100 to 250, it's kind of like, woohoo, you know, it's like it feels like really abundant, and we tend to get a little bit more spend happy. Well, that's what I found anyway. And it was like, okay, well, I'm happy to risk to win more in that mode, like that 100 to 250. And for me, I guess like what I really noticed in that back bracket as well, in that band, that I was happy to invest in mentors. I was really happy to get out there and do more things because I was less hanging on to everything that I had. Now, the way that the law of increase works and the thinking behind it is that for every dollar that you spend, you've got to expect like 10 times coming back to you, right? So that's kind of like my minimum expectation. So I know if I spend $1 in Facebook advertising, I expect to make at least $10 back, right? I expect at least a 10 times ROI. If I'm investing with a mentor, I expect at least a 10 times ROI. Now, the caveat to all of that is I don't always expect it to happen instantly, right? I don't expect to go, all right, here's $10,000, Miss Mentor or Mr. Mentor, thank you. I expect that 100 grand is going to hit my account within that month. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it does, but not all the time. But when I think like it's kind of like an expectation without it being an expectation. Right? So I guess what I want you to consider is like if you're investing or if you're giving money to someone or something like in the name of charity, or maybe you're tithing or things like that, we don't do it with that, oh, I'm going to give $200 to this place, like donation, charity, church, wherever it is that you tithe. I'm going to give this 10% of everything that I make, or I'm going to give this $200 over here, and I expect that $2,000 is going to come back. We've really got to be giving without expectation or being hung up on the expectation of when that's actually going to be met in order for the law of increase to work, right? So it's a little bit like, I guess, if we think about the energy that we expend in the gym. We go to the gym, we lift some heavy weights. We kind of expect, without being hung up on when it's going to happen, we expect that we're going to build muscle. We expect that we're going to get stronger. But you don't walk into the gym and go, okay, I've just gone and done an hour's worth of weights, bring on the muscles. And then tomorrow it's like, where the fuck are the muscles? Right? Like we can't approach this like the law of increase that it's going to happen in the snap of your fingers. We've got to have faith. We've got to have trust that it's all going to come back in. It's really interesting. So like we've got those bands, right? And I think there's this really interesting thing that kind of happens in these bands as well, where our perception of money really shifts and changes. So for me, I was making six figures in corporate, right? So me going into my business in 2010, starting this business, and I'd had online businesses before I started this business, or an online business before I started this particular business. And I was like, okay, cool. I if I'm going to build this branding business, essentially, which is what I went out to, which is what I started doing. My intention for this business was to build it as a branding business. So the branding business, I really needed to make six figures in order for me to feel like I've justified leaving my corporate job and so on and so forth. And my perception of money was that $30 on a bottle of wine was really expensive. And things like, I remember buying shoes back then, and I felt like, $100 to $150, maybe $200 was kind of like the outside kind of made me feel ill. The thought of spending like up to $200 on a pair of shoes. Although I did buy a pair of boots that were just below the knee-high boots, suede Tony Bianco boots, beautiful wedges. I remember buying them. They were a couple of $100s, and I thought, oh shit, these are really expensive. They were beautiful boots. And they sat in my cupboard for 12 months because I was too scared to wear them. It's really freaking funny. Really, really funny. Anyway, but in that, like when I wasn't making a lot of money, my perception of what was expensive was very different. And so like I know that I had to sort of like stretch myself, and what my view of what was expensive or not really needed to change. As I started making more money, now I wouldn't recommend that you manage your money the way that I managed my money when I first started making a lot. It was like to go from being in such a really tight financial position to all of a sudden, like it almost felt like finding the keys to the kingdom, right? In 2012, when things started working, it took me 18 months to find a way for things to actually start working. So April 2012, when I did my first $30,000 month, it was just like, holy shit, this is fucking insane and so exciting. And, all of a sudden, it's like all of those things that I'd held back on that I really wanted, I was able to start actually spending money on things, which felt really, I was kind of like a kid in a candy store. It was really bad, but really good. It was a really, really interesting time, a really, really interesting lesson. And then fast forward through into 2013 when I hit $1 million a year, and it was just like, it was like the whole world had opened up. But this is that perception and the law of increase, I guess, where my perception of money really shifted and changed. And I remember having a conversation in March 2013 with a mentor of mine, and we were chatting about how really like this it's almost like just the decimal point moves. It's like that extra zero that seemed to mean so much. That extra zero is just kind of different. And I think that this really happens when we hit more than 250. When you hit that 250 grand a year revenue, and then it grows and grows and grows from there, it's like this really interesting perception of things changes. And so I remember back then buying bottles of Dom for, like $180 or however much it was a bottle. And we'd be going out for dinner really regularly. And it was just like I was living a very lavish, expensive life. Now, would I do it all again? Yes, I would. If it was the Nicola of now talking to the Nicola of then, I would also say, make sure you're putting money aside for tax, Nicola, because you're going to come a gutser. So it was a really interesting kind of way to experience this, like this law of increase, like increased momentum, increased effort, led to increased results. But still along the way, I knew that whenever I invested in something, I was still going to experience at least a tenfold return. So the most recent experience of this, right? So hang on, before I get into that, it's really kind of curious because I remember the first time walking into a Louis Vuitton store, again, with a mentor and a group of people and wanting to vomit. At that point, I'd never felt comfortable. I've never even walked into a designer store, like a high-end designer store, and I was freaking out. I remember we got out of the limo, and it was on the Gold Coast where the old Louis Vuitton store, it's not there anymore. I'm just on the corner, one back from the Esplanade, and we'd gotten out of the car and we've all started walking in because our mentors were saying, welcome, let's go into the store. And I'm like, bleh. I just 3 years prior, 2 or 3 years prior, I wouldn't even walk into David Jones for feeling like I was the odd person out. Like everybody was staring at me looking, my perception was they were all staring at me looking like I didn't belong, that I didn't have the money to be in here anyway. So, who are you? I was really, I had issues, obviously, but I had a lot of stuff going on in my head. I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I didn't feel like I really even had the money to shop in a store like that, years prior. So walking into this Louis Vuitton store was really quite confronting on many levels. It was really, really fascinating. Now, that particular week that we've gone walking in there, I made $118,000 in sales in one whole week. Like 118 grand in sales in 1 week. And that was really, it was really mind-blowing, actually. It was like the whole world had kind of exploded with wow, is this really the potential of something that somebody could experience? I live in the middle of nowhere. At this point in time, my husband wasn't home for half of the year. It was a really, really fascinating shift in thinking. So we've walked into this store and I was like, holy shit, I don't belong. And they feed you champagne. So it was like, that was the best possible thing that could happen, actually. And I remember I found some shoes that I liked. But before I even looked at the shoes, I was looking at sunglasses because I thought, all right, well, if I'm going to buy something in here, I'll buy a pair of sunnies because that's probably the cheapest way that I'm going to be able to get out of this store, right? So I found the sunnies, tried them on, still have them to this day. I really love them. Then I found a pair of shoes that I liked and I was looking at some different bags, and then this beautiful woman called Maureen showed me this black bag that was like a limited edition thing, and I was just like, oh my gosh, okay. So I've got these 3 things laid on the counter and I was trying to work out what it was that I was going to buy. And there is method in the madness with this, of why I'm sharing this story with you. So roll with me for a sec. So I'm looking at these 3 things and I'm just like, I was feeling physically ill. Hey, Melanie. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is more money than I've spent on my own, like outside of buying a car or outside of buying a house. Like this is really freaking, this is just extraordinary. I can't actually believe, I was like pinching myself that I was even here and that this is even a freaking possibility, right? And so I've just gone, okay, fine. I can do this. This is like, I think the total had come to, I don't know, maybe it might have come to like $4,000 or $3,000. I don't even know. It was so much money. It felt like just so much money back then. It was extreme. Now, at the time, I was selling programs for $6,000, right? I was selling other programs like one-on-one coaching for $4,000 a month. I was selling residentials where we live in for $10,000 for the week. So, the money that I was making and the clients that I was signing back then so this is 2013, was really, I could in quotes afford it, right? But in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, this is insane. This is completely ridiculous. So anyway, I'd like weighed up all the options. I'm like, okay, cool. So I can buy this. I can buy all of these 3 things. And if I make one more sale is going to cover it, right? One more sale is absolutely going to cover it. So I bit the bullet. I bought the things. And I think the next week I made a ton of sales again and again and again and again. Now, what was really interesting about that is that I know that particular experience, that particular investment, and it was very vomit worthy. And it was even worse because I remember scanning my card and the card declined, right? And I rang the bank and I'm like, I actually said to the server, Maureen, I know there is money in this card. Like, there's absolutely money in this card. This is fucking mortifying. Let me just call the bank. Rang the bank, and then I just said, look, I'm in this store and I don't know why the card's declined. And they said, oh, because we thought it was fraudulent. I'm like, no, make it go through. So not only am I vomiting at this what felt like a really sizable purchase, but then my card's declining and I'm already in a store where I'm feeling like, bleh. So it was this really fascinating experience. What I learned from that was that when I really kind of like get out of my own way, when I've invested in mentors, I started investing in mentors at like $1,000 a month, which felt like a lot of money back then. And I know I made at least 10 times that. Then the next time I invested in mentors, it was like $4,000 a month. And then I invested in mentors that were $10,000 a month. And every time I'm kind of like up leveled. What's happened is not only has my cash flow risen to meet the payments that are now expected to go out, but also it's actually gone up by at least 10 times. Like, I know hands down, without even thinking about it, like every mentor, every program that I've invested in, that I've implemented, just to put that little caveat there, but every program that I've bought, online, mentoring, one-on-one, whatever it is, I know I've made at least 10 times ROI on every single thing that I've done. Most recently, but it's like that next vomit level, right? It's like, what's that next vomit level? Not that you have to go and spend, like, I don't think at this point in time, like, depending on who, I don't know, but right now, I'm not going to go and spend $100,000 a month because that's a vomit worthy level. Number one, I don't have $100,000 a month. I'm not making that to go and give to somebody else just yet anyway, right? Secondly, like, I don't know that I even need to be doing that. But if I wanted to, then I know that would then propel and push me up to that next level again, right? Which doesn't always have to be a vomit-worthy thing. What's really interesting most recently is, last year I was like, okay, so 2018, I was like, right, this is the year I'm going to buy a Chanel handbag. And I didn't. Like 2018, I didn't. I bought a beautiful pair of Chanel shoes while I was in America. They're really beautiful, actually. They'd want to be. And then at the start of this year, I was like, okay, all right, this is the year. This is the year, Nicola, that you're going to buy a Chanel bag. Because to me, again, like I was saying about perception, it's like, all right, we've got that new level, right, of kind of what I consider a worthwhile investment. It's like, to me, like, Chanel is kind of like the next level, the next vomit worthy level of upness, right? So I'm like, this is the year. And I was telling this story about the money mindset stuff, about the shifting of the decimal points, and about the law of increase, actually while I was in Perth on the national tour. And I was talking about how I committed at the start of this year to do this, and I haven't yet. And I was kind of like, you know what, I don't know if it will, or, whatever. And then 2 weeks ago, I was just like, okay, this is really fascinating, Nicola. If you really want to get to that next level, then how are you going to make yourself, like, not literally vomit, but what's the next thing that you're going to do? How are you going to do this? And in my journaling, it was just like, well, Nicola, Chanel. So I bit the bullet. I've actually just bought my first Chanel handbag, which is really, really beautiful. And I don't have it here. So like in here, it's in my wardrobe, in my closet. I'll show you another day. And within the space of 2 days, I've 16 times the investment from that handbag with new clients that have come through, right? So that income is not in the bank right now, but I more than covered the purchase price of my bag within 48 hours, within 2 days, right? Because I've gone, okay, I'm just going to make this happen, right? I'm just going to make this happen. Let's just go do this. And the money was replenished within 48 hours. People coming in from out of the blue, sales being made that I was not expecting. It just all came in, right? So I'd bought with that expectation. Even though I'd had the expectation, I've always got this expectation of like when I invest in something, I'm going to get at least a 10 times return on investment, right? Every single time. I always expect that, whether it's in a gym membership, whether it's in mentoring, whether it's in, vomiting juice purchases of handbags. So like that is really, a deep-seated expectation but I didn't do it going like, oh, I'm going to expect that 10 times ROI is going to come in within 2 days. But it's just something that I'd set in stone that's been set actually for the last, 10 years, that when I invest, I get at least tenfold comes back. It's like the law of increase, the law of prosperity, and that's my minimum expectation. So how this applies for you is like, okay, well, for my programs, my intention for all of you with anything that you guys invest with me, whether it's in a book purchase, whether it's in a program purchase, whether it's in Launch It, which you should be in, by the way. We start next Monday. I'll talk about it in a second. My intention is that for every single person that comes through my stuff is that you guys will get at least a 10 times return on investment. Okay, without failure, hands down, probably more than that. So, for instance, with Launch It, it's $297 if you pay it up front. I know that you'll make at least, to make $3,000, only make $3,000 out of that program seems just completely ridiculous. Like I expect you would make $30,000 out of this program or $300,000 out of this program. I won't guarantee it because I can't guarantee that you'll do the work, but my minimum expectation with everything that I do is that you're going to at least 10 times the investment that you make, because that's my intention. If I'm putting money into myself, it's a 10 times ROI. So if you're investing money with me, I totally expect you to get a 10 times ROI from that. So with your stuff, how are you setting the intention for the law of increase to be activated? How are you, when you're investing in things, are you going in with a mindset of, oh my gosh, it's going to cost me this? Or are you going in with I'm going to invest in this and my intention is that, and my expectation is always that I will 10x my investment no matter what happens, in whichever way, shape or form that comes through to you. How are you activating the law of increase? How are you activating the law of prosperity? Because really that's kind of like, and it's not the secret, it's one of the secrets to making this stuff work. Because if you're just going in kind of like, okay, well, it's only $300, fuck it, let's just, do it. And then you don't go and do the work, then nothing's going to shift and change. Whereas if you're like, okay, I'm going to go and spend $300, how can I make $3,000 from this? If that's the way that you're approaching it, how can I make $3,000 from this? Or how can I make $30,000 from this? Imagine spending $300 and being able to make $30,000 because you set that intention. That's what happens is our brain unconsciously gets programmed to start looking for the solutions. It gets programmed to start looking for the ways of being able to make things work rather than going, suck it and say whatever. No, actually, I set the intention that tenfold is going to come back to me no matter what. So that's what I really think that one of the things that you guys should be really thinking about is that actually. Okay, how can you activate the law of increase? More and more. Oh my goodness. All right. So I've for those of you who are wanting to do stuff like with Launch It, I guess like this is the other thing, right? And I've just copied that in and it hasn't worked properly. So let's just edit that in a second. The law of increase should work on eyelashes. Like for every one lash that gets put on, 10 more should stay instead of like turning out like spider's legs. It's just ridiculous. Okay. So there you are, my friends. I really think that that's my Chanel story. That's really the thing that I think is the one of the intentions, and it's got to start right from now. It's got to start with everything that you're doing. So if you buy a book, then okay, great. If you're going to buy that book, then how are you going to make money from that? How are you going to 10 times your investment from that? You know, only you can answer that. How are you going to be able to make this work? Yeah. So with Launch It, the thing that I can tell you, like I said, is with everything that we're doing, my intention for you is to 10 times it. So I've added the link in there. We do start Monday. We're going to go live every day for 5 days. It is ridiculously cheap. There are VIP options available. It'd be a pleasure to host you and in there and activate your law of increase and activate your prosperity and activate your action and actually get yourself out there and start launching. Get yourself out there without all of the tech overwhelm, without all of the problems, without all of the things, and just go, okay, like how can we make this so freaking simple? So, you know, I don't know. My thinking is that I know that you've got at least a $297 program in you, right? In your knowledge, in your mindset, and I really think it's probably a $3,000 program, but let's say $297, right? I would bet any money at all that you can find something to sell out of your brain, which I help you with in actual fact, for you to be able to make that $300 back, right? It's $300, that's it. It's slightly more on a payment plan because, you know, payment plan options and accounting and blah, blah, blah. It's a bit harder to manage. It's not harder for me to manage. It's harder for my staff to manage because they have to chase up the payments and stuff. I don't do that. So I guess where I'm going with is for you guys, it's like, do you think that you can build something out there, put something out there and make at least $300 back? Yes, then it's not a cost, right? It's an investment. It's a no freaking brainer. So anyway, that's that for you. I reckon you could even launch something before Christmas and make your money back. I think that would be a no-brainer as well. So there you go, my friends. I'm going to love you and leave you. Ponder on how you are going to activate the law of increase in your business. How are you going to do something that is almost like, not that I'm an advocate for vomiting, but what are you going to do that is almost vomit inducing, that has you lifting up to that next level, that has you going, okay, like how can we make this work? Okay, how can I extend? How can I expand upon this? Because the second that you find that, you will find that everything else lifts and you're off and on your way. All right, my friends, happy Monday. Remember that the world is ready for your brand of awesomeness, but only if you get out there and make it happen. All right, so go and do that. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Have an amazing and fabulous day. And I can't wait to welcome you into the Launch It family. All right, mwah. Talk to you soon.